Thank you, Senator Schiff. And let me say to all of the witnesses who are here today, this remarkable hearing should help to restore the nation's faith in the democracy and the courage of the witnesses who have come here today to testify and the courage of their family who stand behind them. Ms. Hoyer, it's my understanding that there are guidelines to be considered with pardon petitions. And among those guidelines, there is a requirement that they be granted in part based on, quote, the petitioner's demonstrated good conduct for a substantial period of time after conviction and service of sentence, and that, quote, a petitioner should be genuinely desirous of forgiveness rather than vindication. One of the first acts of office, obviously, of President Trump was the full unconditional pardon of 1,600, the number I'm not sure of, but I think it's in that range, of those who participated in the insurrectionist riot here in the Capitol. Most of us at this table were witnesses to those crimes and certainly understood what happened to the men and women in law enforcement who still protect us to this day and risk their lives for us on January 6th. I've taken a look at some of those who were given these pardons and gone through what they have done even since, in the few weeks since that happened. It is outrageous, some of the conduct that has been well documented. My question to you as a pardon attorney at the time, were you consulted on the pardons of the January 6 rioters?
I was not consulted. No member of my office was consulted about those pardons.
What would have happened to the pardon request for January 6 offenders had the normal DOJ pardon process been followed?
Had any of those individuals applied for a pardon, they would have been in due course fully vetted on an individualized basis, and the office would have formed a recommendation about the individual applicants, which would have been provided to the president. The whole role of the office is to ensure that some uniform and consistent standards are provided, and more importantly, the role is to ensure that people who are waiting their turn, who have meritorious cases, that those cases can make their way to the president's desk. Those folks who have access to the White House through the front door, they don't need the help of the Office of the Pardon Attorney to elevate their cause. And there are thousands of ordinary Americans who are seeking the mercy of the president through the clemency process who are not being considered right now because the office is not being consulted. There are individuals who are serving incredibly lengthy sentences under outdated mandatory minimum sentencing laws who are seeking reductions of their sentence, people who have demonstrated rehabilitation over the course of decades in prison. There are people whose family members are writing in pleading for their return home. There are individuals who are in the community doing incredibly well, who have demonstrated rehabilitation and given back over the course of years, who are asking for pardons. And all of those people are on hold because no interaction was happening as of the time of my departure between the Office of the Pardon Attorney and the White House about clemency. The only people being considered for clemency were people who had some sort of inside access, inside track to the White House and could get their cases in front of the president without going through the ordinary process. And that is very concerning, and it causes real reason to lose confidence in the clemency process and real damage to our system of justice.
Have you followed what has happened to those who were given pardons by President Trump who were engaged in assaulting law enforcement here on Capitol Hill? Have you followed any of the cases? What has happened to them since?
I have, sir.
And what have you seen?
Well, there seems to be chaos in litigation that's happening around the country about determining what the intended scope of the pardons was. That's one thing I've observed, and that's one way that you can tell that my office was not involved. Had we been involved, we would have written the paperwork in an intelligible, clear way so there was no ambiguity about what it meant. But instead, there is litigation happening around the country in which the department is taking inconsistent positions and reversing itself about what those pardons mean. They have created a lot of chaos in a lot of different ways, and that is not the way the process is intended to work.
At least one of these people has been shot dead assaulting a police officer. Are you aware of that?
I don't want to overstep the area of my knowledge. I've seen things in the news, but I don't have any personal knowledge about the facts of that case or others.
Mr. Chairman, let me conclude by saying that last week our New Jersey colleague showed strength and resolve and courage to stand for more than 25 hours to speak for fairness and justice. He made history. This hearing continues in that spirit. Thank you all for your courage in attending.